I urge you to listen close and follow along because there is a lot of information pertaining to mandated homeschooling. Homeschooling is a good method of education. It provides the ability for parents to be heavily involved in the child's education and allows them to create social skills necessary and suitable to the parent's culture. But homeschooling is not for everyone. Not all parents are capable of providing quality education to meet the needs of state requirements or have the time to commit to such a demanding task. And it is putting an unnecessary strain on families. I'm going to go over the stress this pandemic created mandate is causing, the training required to be an instructor, and the large digital divide it is causing. Teachers go through years of training to be qualified as an educational instructor. Teaching takes years of training and experience, something that a parent just can't do overnight. All states require teachers in public schools to be licensed or certified in the specific grade level that they will be teaching. And this can be found at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the U.S. Department of Labor, under the Occupational Outlook Handbook for kindergarten and elementary teachers. Now, some in some situations, a bachelor's degree is preferred. And although online training has been around for 2 decades, teachers still need to train to teach in an online environment. And this is in a book written by Susan Coe and Steve Rosen in 2017, entitled "Teaching Online: A Practical Guide." Now, for homeschooling, teacher certification is not required in most states, nor is there a requirement to report the educational level of the parent providing the instructions. Now, this is found through fine law teams of legal writers and editors in 2020, entitled "Education in Homeschooling: State Laws." This was on their website. The difference between homeschooling and mandated homeschooling is the preparation from the parents and from the teachers, psychologically, economically, financially, intellectually, if they're even capable of teaching. Parents are now required to manage their home around work schedules and a school schedule through no choice of their own. And although instructors can be provided with a teacher through digital interaction like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, the responsibility is fully still left up to the parent. I fully witnessed this through my sibling, my sister, as she was trying to balance her workload at home on the same table as she was trying to do the homeschooling with my two nephews. It was a lot of stress that was caused between the two of them. Now, mandating families to make this work is putting the extreme stress on parents. Mandated state government executive order forces students into a homeschooling environment, puts a lot of stress on parents. Now, in an article by Emily Kavanaugh on Christine Tyler, this was in 2020, entitled "An Award-Winning Teacher with 12 Years Experience Explains Why She Isn't Homeschooling Her Kids During This Corona Pandemic." She feels that she is not qualified to homeschool her children. She feels it is far too stressful. This is coming from an award-winning teacher, middle school teacher. Affordability is an issue also, with parents being forced to stay at home and possibly losing their jobs. The cost of, this is written by Simmons University on August 11, 2020, entitled "Pandemic Shines a Light on Digital Divide," written by Associate Professor Colin Rhinesmith. The cost of high-speed living or high-speed internet is just too high for some families to afford. Going to available hotspots daily is just something that's not practical either. Mandated homeschooling on rural communities and low-income families creates a larger digital divide. Digital divide is causing a strain on families who can't afford or understand the technology needed to do homeschooling. Now, digital divide refers to the gap between those who have computer and internet to those who don't. Now, inadequate internet has placed children's education at risk, and this is in a story written or put out by NBC in September 18, 2020, called "The Digital Divide: Pandemic Learning Uncovers Internet Inequities in San Diego." Students living in rural areas don't have the access to the required high-speed internet. Now, some alternatives that the families did, was to share the phone's hotspot. Now, this didn't work either because the phone would lose connection every once in a while, and the child would lose connection with their schooling, and then some of them were actually considered absent. Lawsuits and letters have been filed claiming that the reduction in the digital divide is the responsibility of the school, which it is failing to do so. Now, in a letter to the mayor of New Jersey, a law firm claims the digital divide is a violation of the students' constitutional rights, and this can be found on the Educational Law Center website written by Sharon Kringle on August 27th, 2020, called Digital Divide, a Violation of Students' Constitutional Rights. Now, there's been a lawsuit also that was filed in Boston. This lawsuit is entitled Musset versus Pizer, and it's a lawsuit from parents in the community in Massachusetts. And this resulted in what was called the Student Opportunity Act. Now, this lawsuit can be found when it was originally filed by the Council for Fair School Finance in 2019. And this was for the lawsuit of Musset versus Pizer, their lawsuit fact sheet. They identified that digital divide was already an issue prior to this pandemic, and they filed this against the school and the state of Boston, Massachusetts. Now, they replied back in January 2020 and agreed and actually wrote an act. And this can be found in a news article on the Council for Fair School Finance in January 2020, titled Parents Will Drop Lawsuit as Lawmakers Move to Fully Fund Initial Year of Landmark Educational Bill. And that bill was called the Student Opportunity Act. Now, I went to the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce website for this year and looked up the policy brief on Student Opportunity Act. And as of now, they're not pressuring this because they stated they didn't have the financial structure to push forward to make this act. And because of the mandate that's happened recently, they don't have the finances to further fund this. So to this date, digital divide is still an issue that it has not been addressed or rectified. So in conclusion, we have looked at the training required by states to meet the qualifications of quality education. And although homeschooling has been around for several decades, parents need to be able to make the decision on their own if homeschooling is right for their children. Mandated homeschooling places extreme unnecessary stress not only on parents, but on teachers too. Both need ample notification and preparation to provide quality online education. And with the limited resources in rural communities and low-income families, homeschooling widens this digital divide gap. Homeschooling is a good program for some families, but not for everyone. Everyone should not be mandated to do so. It is disruptive to the family living, can damage a child's education, and can financially destroy a family who is not prepared to handle this. So I urge you to write to your mayor, the governor, to the senators, and ask them not to force families to mandate homeschooling. This is not the best solution, nor is it the only solution for families during this pandemic. Thank you.